When I was a child, I always believed that coming home would mean comfort. That no matter how hard the world was, no matter how many mistakes I made, there would be one place where I would feel safe. I carried that belief through years of loneliness at college, through nights when I couldn't sleep because I missed my father, through every moment I dreamed of walking up those familiar steps and finding the one person who still belonged to me. But sometimes the places we call home can betray us. Sometimes, what waits for you behind the front door is not love, but a reminder that everything you believed was nothing but a lie. It was late evening when I finally stepped off the bus in Portland. The air was damp, filled with the scent of rain, and the street lamps buzzed faintly overhead. I dragged my suitcase behind me, my heart racing with anticipation. 4 years. 4 long years since I had last seen my father. I imagined his smile when he saw me again. Imagined him telling me how proud he was that I had graduated. But as soon as the cab turned onto our old street, the picture in my head shattered. The house I grew up in looked abandoned. The shutters hung loose, paint peeling, the front yard overgrown with weeds. The porch light that once guided me home was dark, the windows empty, like hollow eyes staring back at me. My chest tightened. Something was wrong. I stepped out of the cab and stood frozen on the sidewalk. Maybe I had remembered the address wrong. Maybe my father had moved. But then I saw it, on the porch, a single cardboard box with my name scrawled across it in thick black marker. My throat went dry. Slowly, I walked up the steps, each creak of the old wood echoing like thunder in the quiet night. I knelt beside the box and pulled at the tape with shaking hands. Inside were fragments of my past. A stuffed bear with one missing eye, family photographs faded and bent at the corners, an old journal I had kept as a child. And at the very bottom lay a small black burner phone. On top of it, a note. The handwriting was unmistakable. My father's, trust no one, not even me. My stomach dropped. My father was never sentimental, but he was steady, predictable. He didn't write cryptic notes. He didn't play games. I read the words again, hoping they would somehow rearrange themselves into something that made sense. That's when the burner phone lit up and started ringing. I nearly dropped it in shock. The sound was shrill in the empty night, echoing off the abandoned houses around me. With trembling fingers, I pressed the button and lifted it to my ear. A distorted male voice cut through the static. "You need to leave. Right now. They'll come for you tonight." My mouth went dry. "Who is this? What do you mean?" But the line went dead. I stood there on the porch, gripping the phone so tightly it dug into my palm. My father's warning echoed in my mind. Trust no one. Not even me. A chill crept up my spine. I looked around, and that's when I saw it. A black sedan parked at the end of the street. The engine was running, headlights off, windows tinted too dark to see through. I took a step back. The car didn't move. Another step, and the engine roared softly as it rolled forward, slow, deliberate. My instincts screamed at me to run. I grabbed the box, clutching it against my chest, and hurried down the opposite side of the street. The sedan followed. I turned a corner, heart pounding, dragging my suitcase behind me. My breaths came out sharp, ragged, too loud in the silence. I spotted the neon glow of a diner ahead, its buzzing sign flickering in the darkness. Pushing through the door, I nearly collapsed into a booth. The warm smell of frying bacon and stale coffee should have been comforting, but it only made me feel more out of place, like I had stepped into a world that didn't realize mine was collapsing. The burner phone lay on the table in front of me. Should I call the police? Would they even believe me? My real phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out with trembling hands. An unknown number flashed across the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Lena Moreau?" A calm, steady voice said, "This is Special Agent Kincaid with the FBI. We need to talk about your father." I froze. "The FBI?" Before I could respond, the voice continued. "I know this is sudden, but you may be in danger. Don't leave. I'm on my way." The line clicked dead. I sat there, stunned, staring at the greasy diner table. My father's words echoed again. Trust no one. Not even me. And yet, here was a stranger, claiming to know the truth about him, claiming to be my only protection. The bell above the diner door chimed. A tall man in a dark suit walked in, scanning the room until his eyes landed on me. He strode toward my booth, confidence in every step, and slid into the seat across from me. "Lena," he said, offering his hand. "I'm Agent Kincaid. I believe your father has put you in grave danger." I didn't take his hand. My throat tightened. "Where is he?" I whispered. Kincaid's face was unreadable. "That's what we're trying to determine. But you need to understand. Your father wasn't who you thought he was. He lived under multiple identities. He was involved with people you don't want to know, and now they're after you." I shook my head, gripping the edge of the booth. "No, you're wrong. He worked construction. He barely left Portland." Kincaid leaned closer, his voice low. "That was just a cover. He laundered money for an international syndicate, and we believe he left you something. Information, codes, files. That's why they want you." I opened my mouth to argue, but before I could, the diner lights flickered. My gaze darted to the window. The black sedan was parked outside. This time, the doors opened. 2 men in hoodies stepped out, their faces hidden in shadows. They pushed through the diner door, eyes locking on me instantly. Everything happened in a blur. Kincaid shoved me down as glass shattered, a gunshot ringing through the air. Customers screamed. Coffee mugs exploded across the floor. I crawled under the booth, clutching my bag and the box, my heart hammering so loud I could barely hear. Kincaid fired back, shouting for people to get down. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I scrambled toward the back exit, slipping on spilled soda, my hands raw from crawling on the greasy floor. Bursting into the alley, I ran into the rain-soaked night, lungs burning, the burner phone buzzing again in my pocket. This time, when I answered, it wasn't the distorted voice. It was a woman. Her voice was sharp, urgent. "Lena, listen to me. Don't trust the FBI. Don't trust anyone. It's me, Isabel, your aunt. I can explain everything. Meet me before it's too late." My footsteps faltered. "My aunt? I didn't have an aunt." "You do," she insisted. "Your father kept me hidden for your safety. I know what's happening. I know why they're after you. Please, Lena. I'm the only one you can trust." The rain poured harder, soaking me to the bone as I stood frozen in that alley, clutching the phone. My father's words burned in my mind, the note that started it all. Trust no one, not even me. And for the first time in my life, I realized I couldn't even trust myself to know the truth. When I ran out of that diner, the rain was coming down so hard it felt like the whole sky was falling with me. My father's note, "Trust no one, not even me," was still burning a hole in my pocket. I didn't know where to go, who to call, or why I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. All I knew was that if I stopped moving, something terrible was going to happen. I ducked into an alley, pressed my back to the cold brick wall, and tried to breathe. My heart was pounding so loud I thought whoever was chasing me could hear it. That's when the phone buzzed again, the cheap burner phone that had been in the box with my name on it. Against every instinct, I answered. "Lena," a woman's voice said, low and urgent. "Listen carefully. My name is Isabel. I knew your father. He left something with me before he disappeared. Something you need to see." I almost dropped the phone. I didn't even know my father had disappeared. Not officially. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" I whispered. "You don't," she said quickly. "But think about it. Your father didn't trust anyone. If he gave me something for you, don't you think that means something?" She had a point. My father had been many things. Cold, secretive, obsessed with security. But careless wasn't one of them. Then she added something that made my blood run cold. "They're not just after you, Lena. They're after what your father left behind. And if they find it first, you'll never know who you really are." And just like that, the line went dead. I stood there in the rain, shaking. Who I really was? What did that even mean? I had always been his only daughter, always done what he asked, followed his rules. But suddenly, everything about my life felt like a lie. I started walking. No plan, no destination, just moving, because it was the only thing I could do. My shoes splashed through puddles as I headed for the only place that felt even remotely safe. An old library on the edge of town where I used to study after school. I knew a back window where the latch had always been broken. If I could just get inside, maybe I'd have a few hours to think. But when I got there, I wasn't alone. Through the dim glow of a flickering lamp, I saw him. I stared at him, tears mixing with the rain on my cheeks. I don't even know what the truth is anymore. My father left me nothing but a box and a note, and now everyone wants me dead. He took a step closer, his voice softer now. Then let me show you something your father didn't want you to see. That's when I realized I was shaking. Not from the cold, but from the terrible feeling that whatever came, through the dim glow of a flickering lamp, I saw him sitting at one of the tables like he'd been waiting for me. Agent Kincaid. He looked up slowly, his eyes unreadable. "You can't run forever, Lena," he said softly. "Sit down, please." I should have run. God, I should have, but exhaustion and fear and the faintest glimmer of hope kept me rooted to the spot. I sat across from him, my hands trembling under the table. "I spoke to someone," I whispered. She called herself Isabel. Said she knew my father. Kincaid's jaw tightened, his eyes flickering. "Isabel? You shouldn't trust her." I laughed, bitter, tired. "And I should trust you?" For the first time, I saw something crack in his expression. "I'm trying to keep you alive, Lena, Isabel. She's not who you think she is. If she's involved, then this goes deeper than even I imagined." Before I could ask what that meant, the windows exploded. Masked men poured in like shadows with guns. Kincaid shouted, "Run!" But I froze. One of them lunged at me, and then I saw Kincaid pull a gun and fire. The sound was deafening. The man dropped at my feet. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I'd never seen someone die before. Kincaid grabbed me, dragged me toward the back exit. "Move," he shouted. "If you want answers, if you want to live, trust me now." Trust. That word again. I let him pull me through the rain-soaked streets until my lungs burned and the shouts behind us faded. We stopped in the shadow of an abandoned warehouse. He leaned against the wall, his chest heaving. "You have to choose, Lena, Isabel or me, because both of us want you alive, but only one of us will tell you the truth." I stared at him, tears mixing with the rain on my cheeks. I don't even know what the truth is anymore. My father left me nothing but a box and a note, and now everyone wants me dead. He took a step closer, his voice softer now. "Then let me show you something your father didn't want you to see." That's when I realized I was shaking, not from the cold, but from the terrible feeling that whatever came next was going to change everything I thought I knew about my life. I don't know what made me follow him that night. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was desperation, maybe it was the faint flicker of something in his eyes that looked almost human. But when Agent Kincaid told me he could show me something my father had kept hidden, I nodded. Against every warning in my head, I let him lead me deeper into that abandoned warehouse. The place smelled of rust and mold, every step echoing through the hollow metal skeleton of what had once been a factory. He guided me to a small office in the corner, its door barely hanging on the hinges. From under his jacket, he pulled a small black case and set it down on the dusty desk. "This," he said quietly, "was found in one of your father's safe houses, hidden under a false wall." My heart stopped. A safe house? My father had never told me about any safe house. He had always claimed our home was enough, that safety came from vigilance, not hiding places. Kincaid clicked the case open. Inside was a hard drive, a passport with my father's picture but a different name, and, my stomach turned, photographs. Dozens of them. Photographs of me. Room. Their weapons weren't raised this time. Maybe they were too stunned. Maybe they thought they still had me wrapped around their fingers. "Prove it," I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine anymore. It was steadier, harder. "Prove who you are. Prove who my father really was. Prove what any of this means. Because I am done being lied to." For a moment, they just stared. And then Isabel moved first. She reached into her bag, pulled out a worn leather folder, and slid it across the table toward me. "Your mother's journals," she whispered. "I kept them hidden after she vanished. Everything she knew about your father is in there. Kincaid's face tightened. He shook his head. Don't touch that, Lena. Those are forgeries. She's manipulating you. I can take you to a secure location, show you files straight from the bureau. Files that prove Isabel orchestrated your mother's disappearance. Their voices rose, colliding, a storm of accusations and promises. My hands shook as I stared at the folder, my mind spinning. But then something inside me snapped. I slammed my fists on the table, the sound echoing through the cheap motel room. Stop! I screamed. Stop treating me like a child, like a pawn. You both want me, but neither of you care about me. You just want what my father left behind. Silence. For the first time, they had no words. I grabbed the folder and the hard drive, shoving them into my bag. If either of you really care about me, you'll prove it without dragging me into your war. Until then, stay the hell away from me. I walked out, my hands trembling, my heart hammering so hard I thought I'd collapse on the spot. But they didn't follow me. Not this time. The next days blurred into a haze of sleepless nights and hidden corners. I pored over the journals in dark motel rooms, library basements, anywhere no one could find me. The words were shaky, ink faded, but the truth bled through every line. My mother had discovered something about my father's work. She had written about secret accounts, shadowy corporations, names of people I didn't recognize. And over again she wrote the same thing. If he ever finds out, I know, I'm dead. Reading those words, I felt like I was falling into a bottomless pit. My father hadn't been protecting me. He had been silencing her, watching me, preparing me, because he knew the day would come when I might ask the same questions she had. And if Isabel was telling the truth, maybe my mother hadn't just vanished. Maybe she had been erased. I wanted to scream, to tear the pages apart, to burn everything my father had left behind. But instead, I kept reading. Buried in the final journal was something that made my blood run cold. A set of coordinates, a warehouse outside the city, and beneath them, just one sentence. The truth is here. I didn't tell Isabel. I didn't tell Kincaid. For once, I wasn't going to be their puppet. I went alone. The warehouse was empty at first glance, just dust and shadows. But as I searched, I found a locked steel cabinet in the back, half hidden behind crates. I smashed it open with a crowbar I'd found by the door. Inside were files, stacks of them, photos, documents, receipts, and at the top, a photograph of my mother, alive. My hands shook as I traced her face. The date on the photo was years after her supposed death. She hadn't died. She'd been alive all this time. And then I heard the footsteps. I spun, clutching the photograph to my chest. Kincaid stood in the doorway, gun in hand. I told you not to do this alone, he said softly. My stomach twisted. You followed me. I had to, he said. You don't know what you're walking into. These files, they're dangerous. If the wrong people find them. But his words cut off as another figure stepped out of the shadows. Isabel. Her gun was raised too. I laughed, a broken, bitter sound. Of course you both found me. Give me the files, Lena, Isabel demanded. They're not safe in your hands. No, Kincaid barked. If she gives them to you, she's dead. I clutched the photograph tighter, my heart hammering. My mother's eyes stared back at me from the faded image, as if begging me to make the right choice. And then I realized there was no right choice. Not with them. I shoved the photograph into my bag, grabbed as many files as I could, and bolted. Bullets tore through the air as they shouted after me, but somehow, I made it into the night. I didn't stop running until my legs gave out. I collapsed in the dirt, sobbing, clutching the files to my chest. That was the night I finally understood. I wasn't going to find the truth through them. Isabel, Kincaid, my father. They had all built their lives on lies. The only way I was going to find the truth was if I tore it out myself And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like their pawn anymore. I felt like their enemy. I always thought endings were supposed to feel like relief. Like once the truth finally came out, once the lies were ripped open and the masks torn off, I'd be able to breathe again. But when I stumbled into that dark field clutching stolen files against my chest, all I felt was rage. Rage at my father for turning me into a weapon I never wanted to be. Rage at Isabel for feeding me just enough truth to keep me running after her. Rage at Kincaid for acting like he cared when I was nothing more than a case file to him. And beneath the rage, something darker. A fire that I didn't recognize, burning inside me, whispering that if everyone wanted to use me, maybe it was time I used them instead. I wasn't their pawn anymore. I wasn't their leverage. I was the one holding the match. The files were heavy with names I didn't know, offshore accounts I couldn't even pronounce, photographs of men and women shaking hands in dim rooms. But one name came up over and over again, circled, highlighted, marked in my mother's handwriting. Blackthorn. At first I thought it was a company, then a code. Then I realized it was a network, an invisible web of bankers, politicians, mercenaries. My father had been one of them, and my mother had been the one who tried to stop them. That's why she vanished. That's why my father raised me in a cage of paranoia. He wasn't protecting me from strangers. He was protecting me from the truth. Because the truth was that my mother had chosen a side, and it wasn't his. When I understood that, something inside me broke and mended all at once. I wasn't going to wait for Isabel or Kincaid to tell me who I was. I wasn't going to wait for Blackthorn to swallow me whole. I was going to finish what my mother started. The first step was finding out if she was still alive. I traced the photographs, zoomed into grainy images until my eyes blurred. There was one, dated 3 years ago, of her entering a clinic in South America. The image was low resolution, but it was her. The same eyes, the same tired but defiant expression. My mother hadn't just lived. She had fought, and she had hidden. And if she was still hiding, then maybe, just maybe, I could find her. But I couldn't do it alone. That was the hardest part to accept. After everything Isabel and Kincaid had done, after all the betrayals, I had to face the fact that I still needed them. Maybe not as allies, maybe not as family, but as tools. So I set a trap. I leaked a fragment of the files, just enough to stir the water, an anonymous drop into a journalist's inbox. Names redacted, but hints sharp enough to cut. I knew it wouldn't take long for the sharks to smell blood. And I was right. 2 nights later, Kincaid found me. He cornered me in a bus station bathroom, his gun tucked under his jacket, but his eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. "You're playing a dangerous game," he said. "That leak has Blackthorn scrambling. If they find out it was you, they already know," I said flatly. "But I don't care. I'm not hiding anymore." For a moment, he just stared at me, like he didn't recognize the girl standing in front of him. Maybe he didn't. "Then tell me what you want, Lena," he said finally. "Because right now you're holding a live grenade, and I'm the only one who can stop it from blowing up in your face." I took a breath. I want my mother, alive, and I want Blackthorn gone. Not in a courtroom, not in secret files, gone. For good. Something flickered in his eyes then. Not pity, not authority, respect. "You're just like her," he murmured. "Stubborn, reckless, dangerous." For the first time, I didn't flinch at the comparison. We struck a deal that night. I would give him pieces of the files, small enough to use but not enough to betray me. In return, he would use his bureau contacts to track down the clinic in the photograph. But of course, it wasn't just Kincaid who came back into my life. Isabel found me too. She came to me in a church, slipping into the pew beside me like a shadow. For a long time, we sat in silence, the air thick with old incense and unspoken words. "I didn't kill your mother," she said finally. Her voice was low but steady. "But I did run when she needed me most. And I've been running ever since." I didn't look at her. "Why should I believe you?" "Because I have nothing left to gain," she whispered. "Blackthorn took everything from me. All I have left is you. And her, my mother. Isabel slid a small drive into my hand. Coordinates, the last place I knew she was alive. If you're brave enough to follow them. For a long time, I stared at that drive, my mind a storm. Isabel's words, Kincaid's warnings, my mother's journals, every piece of the puzzle cut me deeper. But I knew this was it. This was the path she had left me. The path my father had tried to erase. And if I didn't take it, I would never forgive myself. So I went. The clinic was a crumbling building in the middle of nowhere, the kind of place where the world forgot people. The halls smelled of bleach and dust, the lights flickering weakly overhead. And then, at the end of a narrow corridor, I saw her. Older, thinner, her hair streaked with gray. But her eyes were the same. "Mom," I whispered. She froze, her hands trembling. And then she said my name, soft and broken, like a prayer. Lena. The years fell away in that single word. All the lies, all the betrayals, all the cages my father had built around me. None of it mattered in that moment. She was alive. She was here. We held each other like the world was ending. And maybe it was, because as the tears blurred my vision, I saw movement at the end of the hall. Kincaid, Isabel, and behind them, men with guns. Blackthorn. The reunion I had waited for my whole life had lasted less than a minute. And now, it was time to fight. When I saw them at the end of the corridor, time fractured. Kincaid's face was tight, unreadable. Isabel's eyes glistened like she knew this moment was always coming. And behind them, shadows moved, the sharp click of polished shoes on tile echoing like gunshots. Blackthorn had arrived. For a heartbeat, I thought about running, about grabbing my mother's hand and bolting down the nearest stairwell, hoping that years of hiding had made her light enough on her feet to keep up. But the way her body trembled against mine told me the truth. She was too weak, too tired, and if I dragged her now, I'd lose her again. I wouldn't survive another loss. So instead, I stepped forward. My hands shook, but I forced my voice steady. "Stop right there," I said. "You're not taking her." The men behind Isabel fanned out, weapons glinting under the flickering fluorescent lights. For a moment, it was almost surreal. Me, a girl who grew up writing school essays and dreaming of bylines, now standing in the middle of a showdown that looked like it belonged in a spy thriller. But this wasn't fiction. This was my life, and I wasn't going to let them write the ending for me. Kincaid spoke first, his voice calm but sharp. "Lena, listen to me. You don't understand what you're walking into. These people don't negotiate. They don't forgive." I laughed bitterly. "Then I guess we have something in common." One of the men stepped forward, a tall brute with eyes like ice. "Give us the files, Lena, or you and your mother leave this place in body bags." My mother's hand tightened around mine, her nails digging into my skin. She leaned close, her voice barely a whisper. "Don't give them anything, no matter what." That was when I realized she already knew what I had. She already knew what my father had hidden in me, and she was willing to die for it. But I wasn't. Not like this. I reached into my backpack, pulled out the flash drive, and held it up. "You want this? Fine, but you don't get it for free." The men tensed. Isabel's lips curved into something between pride and despair. Kincaid swore under his breath. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "Taking control," I said. I lifted my chin, my voice carrying across the hallway. "You let my mother walk out of here alive. You back off, all of you, and this drive is yours." The brute laughed. "Do you really think we need to bargain with a child?" But before he could step forward, Isabel spoke. Her voice cut through the tension like glass. "She's not a child," she said. "She's Moreau's daughter, and if you think she doesn't have backups of that drive hidden all over the world, then you've already lost." All eyes turned to me. My pulse hammered so loud I thought it might give me away, but I forced a smirk I didn't feel. "She's right," I said. Kill me and the files go public. Every name, every account, every dirty secret. Burned into the internet forever. You'd better pray I stay alive because I'm the only one keeping your empire from collapsing overnight." The brute hesitated. Behind him, one of the men muttered something in a language I didn't recognize. Isabel was watching me with something like awe, while Kincaid's face shifted into grudging respect. For a moment, I thought I'd won. And then the lights went out. Total darkness swallowed us. My mother gasped. In the dark, the crash of boots, the crack of gunfire splitting the air. I grabbed my mother and dropped to the ground, dragging her under the nearest table as bullets tore through plaster. When the emergency lights flickered back on, the hallway was chaos. 2 of the Blackthorn men were down. Isabel had vanished into the smoke, and Kincaid was on the floor with blood blooming across his sleeve. And the brute? He was still standing, still smiling. "Nice bluff," he growled, stepping closer. "But the thing about bluffing, little girl, is eventually someone calls it." I didn't think. I just acted. I hurled the flash drive down the corridor as hard as I could. It skittered across the floor, spinning out of sight. The brute cursed and turned, barking at his men to chase it. And in that heartbeat of distraction, I yanked my mother up and bolted. We ran through the smoke-filled corridors, my lungs burning, my mother stumbling but forcing her legs forward. Every doorway looked the same, every stairwell a dead end. It felt like the building was swallowing us whole. And then a hand grabbed my arm. I spun, ready to fight. But it was Isabel. Her face was streaked with sweat and dust, her eyes wild. "This way!" she shouted. "Hurry!" Every instinct screamed not to trust her, but behind us, footsteps pounded closer, the brute's voice barking orders. We didn't have time to choose. So I followed her. She led us through a back stairwell, down into a service tunnel that reeked of mold and rust. The walls dripped with condensation, the floor slick under our shoes. My mother wheezed, each breath ragged, but she kept moving, her eyes burning with the same fire I'd just begun to recognize in myself. Finally, we burst out into the night, stumbling into the shadows of an abandoned train yard. Rusted cars loomed around us, weeds choking the tracks. Isabel collapsed against a wall, clutching her side, her hand slick with blood. "You saved us," I said, breathless, confused. She shook her head. "No, you saved yourself. I just gave you a door." My mother knelt beside her, pressing fabric against the wound. "Why help us now? After everything?" Isabel's lips trembled into a sad smile. "Because I couldn't save her back then. I couldn't save your mother, but maybe I can save you." Her eyes found mine. "Lena, don't waste this chance. Don't let Blackthorn make you their pawn. Burn them. All of them." Her hand slipped from mine, the light in her eyes fading as her breath stilled. I wanted to scream, but there was no time. The brute's voice echoed through the yard, closer now. My mother clutched my face, forcing me to meet her gaze. "You know what to do, Lena. You've always known. Finish it." And for the first time, I believed her. I pulled out my phone, my fingers flying over the screen. The drive had been a decoy. The real files were stored in encrypted fragments across hidden servers, waiting for a single code to bring them together. My father had thought it was his insurance policy, his power, his throne. But he was wrong. It was mine. I entered the code. And with a single press, I set fire to Blackthorn's empire. The world changed overnight. News outlets exploded with stories of corruption, blackmail, assassinations tied to powerful names. Bank accounts froze. Politicians resigned. Arrests rippled across countries. Blackthorn wasn't destroyed, not completely. Monsters like that never die all at once. But I had gutted them, exposed them, made them bleed, and me, for the first time, I wasn't running. I built a new life, far from the shadows of my father's lies. A small apartment, a laptop, a name no one knew. But instead of disappearing, I did the one thing Blackthorn never expected. I started writing. Anonymous blogs at first, then whistleblower forums, Then underground publications that spread faster than they could be silenced. Every truth I uncovered was another weapon. Every lie I burned away was another victory. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was fighting back. Sometimes late at night, I still hear my father's voice, telling me to trust no one, warning me that the world was nothing but predators and prey. But he was wrong about that too, because I'm not prey anymore. I'm the one hunting. And this time, I get to write the ending.